completely change in just the blink of an eye.
And at the moment, the Ottoman Empire only clinging on to 1 point. That is not what you're going to be seeing. And actually, let's talk a little bit about this sniper rifle as well. Let's talk about what we're seeing here, because you see people talking about zeroing, which you didn't necessarily see in that one, but bullet drop's a thing in this. It's not just your out of the box kind of easy shooter. This is tough work.
Yeah, you've got the bullets that you fire do actually travel across the map. They take time to reach the enemy that you're firing at. You've got bullet drop and bullet drag as well. For people who don't know what bullet drag is, that's where... Oh, look at that for a roadkill. That was fantastic. That was actually either a really good bit of skill or something extremely lucky. Either way, it was a cool bit of footage.
Look, no luck, just skill, one shot, one kill. All right, that's what I cling to, and I will always stick to that, Don't be a naysayer, or I'll have to bring out the horse puns, okay? But we are seeing still this back and forth going on. At the moment, the British Empire have turned it round towards more of their favor. However, the clock is running out here. We're down to 1 minute, actually under that. These are the final closing moments. If the Ottoman Empire doesn't come back into this, they could be done for.
Well, looking at it, they really managed to pull anything back at this stage. Only 45 seconds to go. They have taken back a couple of points, but they appear to be losing them just as quickly as they're taking them. Perhaps the players on the map, their distribution isn't great at the end of the round. Maybe they're just frantically trying to capture whatever they can. And that's part of Battlefield. It forces you to change what you're doing. Suddenly you've got to focus on something different. I mean, there are 64 players playing here, so there's always something different that's going to happen.
All right. And Azel, what have you got here? He's capturing, at least.
Yeah, he is capturing.
He's actually doing some damage.
He's trying to take out the, trying to take out one of the planes. But we are coming very close to the end of the round now. Just 10 seconds to go, and that's a nice way to finish the round. I think a good overview of the map and our first round of Battlefield 1 on the desert.
There it is, ladies and gents. What a way to close it out. A brilliant first impression here of this gameplay on this new environment that we hadn't really seen tested out yet.
Do you know what? That was an extremely high score considering the time of the round.
It really was.
That was a really good score for them to go for. Shall we recap what we've just seen?
Let's take it down, because we saw a lot. And as said, there is a couple more rounds coming. That's not it. We have more. We're not going to treat you like that. Let's still go on through, because we got to see the train coming into play. We've seen the aerial side of things. We've seen this new map, the environment. What really stood out to you out of all of that?
I think when you mentioned the train, I think what stood out for me is it is a behemoth and it's supposed to change the tide of the battle, but it was gone and very quickly. We didn't see it a huge amount. It maybe sort of more played like a stealthy role. Maybe it was just taking out tanks and other things. We didn't see a massive battle going on around it. Yeah. And it can sometimes be a little bit of a honeypot where everyone sort of just goes for it, but a little bit more action around some of the bolt action rifles. Because I think in this map specifically, because it's so large, you really can take advantage of those sniper rifles in the right situation.
Now, anyone who knows me knows I'm a ridiculous fan of things like bolt-action rifles, or anything along those aspects. I love seeing that sort of gameplay, because I'm more an infantry person. Everyone in Battlefield seems to have their own type of how I like to play it. For me, I'm all about that life. And seeing already how they're kind of working in that nice little element that's just below that plane right there, is so mounted, just taking the scenic route over the top. It just excites me incredibly. There's so many ways to play this game, and at the moment we're going to find out exactly how these guys approach it. Already, though, GNA going to their different sides. So the Ottoman Empire finds one, and the British Empire finds the other. But it's all about those middle points. How do they approach it? How do they get themselves into it? How do they cap those flags?
Yeah, and I mean, like, looking at what we've got going on up in the sky, you might think that they don't really get themselves in the battle. But if they're going for a strafing run on some of those objectives that are in the town there, maybe they get some destruction going on, they destroy a house, that gets rid of the cover. Maybe that sort of makes an inroad for their own team. So sometimes it might look like they're not doing much up there to help the people on the ground, but invariably they're doing some sort of damage that will have an effect on you at some point. It looks like we're all running in to the infantry area here and definitely taking good advantage of it, because from what we're looking at, it is a very well-designed section of the map, and looking at it, it is rather beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, I absolutely love this. They're all going in for C. That's the point at the moment. That's the heavily contested area. You can see the madness going down in this village area. You've got the sniper up on the roofs. You've got the assault classes running around the bottom. But there is that definitely they're utilizing, even words are hard, on those rock edges. You can really play around them and build off the back of it. And really, the terrain allows you so many more options. You don't want to be, highlighting yourself over the skylines. You want to be running just in front of the defilade almost. This changes so many aspects here, but let's see how these initial kind of back and forths have gone down.
Oh, we were just about. Oh, we've seen
Ooh,
there.
have we got a flamethrower?
I think we might have a flamethrower there.
We've got to find who's that on, hopefully.
We need to try and get some footage of that, especially not only the flamethrower, but we do have the sentry, which is the walking tank, as it's
the
been
dad's
called.
strength. Right.
And we've got the tank hunter as well, which actually is on a point of the map that we haven't seen a huge amount of. The tank hunter on Sinai Desert is it's hidden away right in the middle of the desert underneath some cover, and you can pick up the anti-tank rifle there. You do have to go a long way to get it.
So it is a commitment.
Yeah, definitely a commitment, but you might, with an anti-tank rifle, it's almost a big, massive sniper rifle with armor-piercing rounds in it. You're going to be firing from perhaps a much further distance,
range.
so maybe you can use some of that cover that's out there, those big sand dunes, to really sort of disguise the fact that you're running around with an anti-tank rifle.
You know, if any of these players have their heads off, you're going to make them all go and look for that now. I hope you're happy with yourself. You've encouraged these guys to go wander into the desert. They're going to be in trouble. Hopefully no sandstorm happens. But back into the action, that is going to be an incredible factor if it comes in. That's actually one of the classes I've not seen yet, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and I think, like, from what we have seen of it, it's only been very brief. I mean, I did get a small chance to have a look at it, and it is a rather dauntingly sized rifle. And it can only be fired in prone.
Everything. How you use it, and you have to prone with it, right?
You can only use it in prone or if you prop it up against cover. You can't just be running with this thing and then fire it. It's got so much recoil to it that DICE have designed it so you can only fire it essentially with the bipod deployed.
And that's the thing that most people wanted to see is how do they kind of balance into this game? How do they work around that? And oh my word, that horse was ambitious trying to take on a tank. Surely that's not going to go well, and it didn't in the end. The tank's still rolling. He's still happy chugging along. I don't think he even realized what happened then.
No, I mean, in many respects, like the horse is what it maybe tried to do there. It was something that I was talking to one of the developers about, is that the horses have like I don't like calling it feelings because it's a video game, but horses do have certain tendencies, and they are in the middle of a war. And they are sort of maybe a little bit jumpy, and they can actually sort of jump over cover if you approach it. So let's say maybe coming up to a small wall or barbed wire or something like that. As long as it's not too tall, the horse will actually attempt to jump over it for you.
And one thing I'll say, actually, and I'm a big fan of this, is